Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Senator Hagel.
Senator.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your willingness to once again heed the call and lead the Department of Defense. We had a great private meeting last week. We covered many of the threats and challenges that our country faces, shrinking budgets, strategic national security shifts, and ensuring, as you've underlined over and over again already this morning, that we continue to provide fair and equal opportunities for all of our service members and their families. Again, I want to tell you I appreciate that opportunity. I'm going to take you up on your offer, if you're confirmed, to continue sitting down with you as a member of the Armed Services Committee. I know this issue has already been addressed, but I want to make sure that I'm on the record as raising my concerns, and I think this committee should give you every opportunity to clarify and underline your point of view. When we met privately, you emphasized your determination to keep all options on the table with regard to Iran, including a military strike if Iran continues to pursue a nuclear program in defiance of its international obligations. You also discussed your longstanding support of Israel and our longstanding relationship. But you have critics out there, I don't have to tell you that, who maintain that your record on Iran is in question and that you are Israel. These are serious charges. So let me direct some questions your way. Why should Americans trust that you will consider every option when it comes to one of the most serious national security threats facing us today, which is Iran?
First, thank you for an opportunity to clarify these issues. My record has been very clear on Iran. Senator Chambliss noted from my 2008 book in my chapter, specifically noting that I said the military option must remain on the table. I said that as recently in an op-ed that I co-authored last year in the Washington Post with two former CENTCOM commanders. We talked about Iran, and one of the very specific points we bring out in that op-ed was the military option must remain on the table, along with all the other areas of effort and expertise and diplomacy and economics and sanctions the President's using, which I've already said I support. So my record is rather thorough on this, and I would continue to support that position, and I strongly support the President's position.
Senator, talk about your view on Israel, our relationship with Israel. How can we continue to have a special alliance with a country with whom we share more than an economic or political philosophy, but with a broader a moral connection that we have to Israel?
Well, I've said many times, just as I've said regarding the military option on Iran, many times in my book, speeches on the floor, interviews I've given, I'm a strong supporter of Israel. I have been. I will continue to be. I've also said specifically, and I believe this is a book, that we have a special relationship with Israel. So, again, my record is pretty clear. I voted in the 12 years in the United States Senate for every authorization, every appropriation that I had an opportunity to vote on for Israel. I've been to Israel many times. I've met with their leaders many times. So, again, if you look at my record, I think my record is pretty clear in my strong support for Israel.
Senator, I heard you say when you discussed your vote against the resolution applying to the IRG, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, that in the end you were protecting the Congress's prerogative when it comes to declaring war. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what I was saying, and I didn't say it, I guess, that way, but that was the point. And again, I say, like I have in answering some of the other questions, it wasn't a question of the objective. I mean, I shared the objective, and I suspect all 22 members in the Senate who voted against that resolution supported the objective. But as Jim Webb made the case, I think, pretty effectively, and Senator Webb was an individual that had rather considerable experience in this business. He'd been Secretary of Navy under Ronald Reagan. He had been Assistant Secretary of Defense under Ronald Reagan. one of the most decorated veterans of Vietnam, United States Senator, celebrated author, lawyer, and I thought he made a pretty strong, persuasive case, so did many of us.
Let's turn to cybersecurity. I was pleased that you mentioned cybersecurity early in your initial remarks. The Pentagon's move to significantly expand its cybersecurity assets and knowledge. I have to talk about Colorado since I represent Colorado. The Air Force Academy is well positioned to train those new cybersecurity experts. We're also the home of Space Command and Northern Command. Would you talk a little bit more about your take on cybersecurity, what we ought to be doing, what sorts of resources we need?
Well, Senator, you may know that I've been to those facilities in Colorado a few times and don't know as much about them as you do, but I'm pretty familiar with them. They are essential to our national security. Cyber, I believe, represents as big a threat to the security of this country as any one specific threat. For all the reasons this committee understands, it's an insidious, quiet kind of a threat that we've never quite seen before. It can paralyze a nation in a second. Not just a power grid or a banking system, but it can knock out satellites. It can take down computers on all of our carrier battleships. It can do tremendous damage to our national security apparatus. That is the larger threat. But when you start defining it down, this body, I know, I watched it, went through a pretty agonizing 3 months at the end of 2012 trying to find a bill that they could agree on cyber. I know, or I believe, the Congress will come back at it in this new Congress. I think you must, and you know that, because we have different intergovernmental authorizations here. Department of Homeland Security's, DOD. Where's the capacity? Where are the budgets? Where are the authorities? This is law enforcement. This is privacy, business. A lot of complications that we've really never, ever had to face before on other national defense threats to this country. So cyber will be an area that we'll continue to focus on. We must. It's an area that I will put high priority on if I'm confirmed to be Secretary of Defense.
Senator, in the 2013 NDAA, there's a provision that compels the military to accommodate the conscience, moral principles, or religious beliefs of all members of the armed forces. This sounds reasonable on the surface, but I'm especially concerned that this could lead to misguided claims of a right to discriminate against lesbian, gay, and bisexual service members, women, or persons with certain religious beliefs. The President has said, I want to quote him, that the Department of Defense will, quote, not permit or condone discriminatory actions that compromise good order and discipline or otherwise violate military codes of conduct, end of his statement. Will you ensure that the Department of Defense, in accommodating religious beliefs or conscience, matters of conscience, does not tolerate discrimination or harm to others?
Absolutely. I will faithfully, diligently enforce our laws. All men and women deserve the same rights, and I can assure you that that will be a high priority if I do enforce that and assure that in every way through the entire line of chain of command and accountability.
Thank you, Senator Hagel. I look forward to the second round of questions. I know it's going to be, I think it's now afternoon, so good afternoon to you, and thank you for
Senator,
being here. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Udall.